Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For this intro, if you can hear my dog chewing his whimsy in the background, I apologize, but I'm not going to take it from him just so I can record this for a minute. In today's video, you guys are going to get to see how I build my stream areas in my enclosures. This is just how I do it. There's probably tons of ways to do it, and if you have your own method of doing it, or if you want to suggest suggestions to people in the comments, I more than welcome that. He finished him whimsy. Did you finish your whimsy? Was it yummy? You like a whimsy? Oh, it's a good stuff, huh? It's a good whimsy. Keep in mind, you can use these stream areas whether or not you have a bioactive enclosure, whether or not you build them into the background, and really, the reason I like stream areas is because they look better and they are more enriching than just like a standard water bowl. Now, one question I get is how do I keep them clean? This is very simple. If you have a stream area that can be removed from the enclosure, you can remove it, rinse all the rocks, and rinse the bottom of the container and replace the water that way. If you can't remove it, you get a turkey baster and you just suck all the water out, and there's going to be some dirt in there. Wipe out the dirt and then put the rocks back in and it's completely clean. For water changes inside of it, you just scoop out water and then replenish water. That's it. It's very simple. Now granted, if that sounds like too much work for you, try to choose the simplest type of stream area you can, or just choose a bowl. Again, this is just how I do things. You don't have to use a stream area if you don't want to. If throughout this video your questions about the stream area are not answered, please leave them down below and I will get back to you. Now with all that said, let's go ahead and get started. So to explain the construction of the stream area, I'm going to use my current build, which is my red-eyed crocodile skink enclosure, and then my tiger salamander enclosure, which is further along, but I'll get to that in a minute. So this is my red-eyed crocodile skink enclosure, as I said, and my red-eyed crocodile skink currently has a stream area in her enclosure that I crafted with pieces of acrylic and silicone, and I decided this time around I'm just going to do the easier part, which is to already have a pre-made plastic like Tupperware container. So it's pretty sizable, especially if you consider like how small my little red-eyed crocodile skink is. First you want to start off with a container, or you can use acrylic or glass and silicone and build one in the enclosure. That's fine too. So when you do that, then you'll have a section that will hold the water, and if you're using the silicone and acrylic or silicone and glass method, you want to be sure that it holds water before you ever do anything else. So before you ever put expanding foam on it, put water in it for like a solid day. And if you don't notice any leaking, perfect. I also recommend that if you're doing the acrylic and silicone or the glass and silicone method, that you silicone all the edges like you normally would, and silicone the Exoterra inside itself, because that's where I had a leak last time. It leaked into the frame of the Exoterra, because Exoterras are supposed to be able to hold water in the bottom section, like there's silicone along this area down here, but for whatever reason mine leaked, and so I recommend just being extra careful and putting another layer of silicone. If that's the route you go, just make sure that you test it to make sure it holds water, and if you go the route of a pre-made container, obviously it'll hold water because it's just one solid piece. The next thing you're going to want to do is find where you want to put it in the enclosure, and if you're doing a DIY background like I have here, you're going to want to find it and situate it perfectly while you're building the background. Like this isn't coming out. She's in here. I don't know why I said she, but it's in here. It's not going anywhere. So if you want to be able to remove it, that's fine too. My tiger salamander enclosure has one that's able to be removed. You just don't build it into the background. It will look more fake. So the whole purpose of this is to make it blend in with the enclosure, which is why I have this here, and I'll get to that in a second. Another thing to consider when you are using like a Tupperware container or acrylic and glass, whatever, and you're creating a stream area, is that it will meet your substrate but be a little bit higher, because you don't want your substrate to just run right into it. So my substrate will be right here, and that's the reason I built this, but we'll get to this in a minute like I said. But my substrate is going to be here, and the front of the Exoterra matches up with that, so it's something you want to be able to have be the same height. So here, let me see if I can, don't mind the razor blade in here from when I was carving the background, and also the dirt on my floor from good God knows what. But basically this is level. This is where it meets, so I'm not going to have like any substrate spillage into the water. There's also not going to be a huge gap between where I can have substrate and where I can't, because again, I want this to look as real as possible. Like I want it to just look like a little pond in the actual enclosure instead of being like a separate container. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and explain why I have this. So The background I want to be cohesive with the pond area or the stream area. I want it to look like this is just a naturally occurring body of water in the enclosure. So to make it look like it's one big piece, I obviously carried the the expanding foam into the structure of the pond. Remember, all this will be under substrate. So then this was really cool. This is a piece I found at an expo. Lays flat against the back, but it has this little branch part, and I was like, that's perfect. I can like carry it into there to be like a way for my red-eyed crocodile skink to get out, but also it would just look wicked cool to carry it in there like that. I'm also gonna have plants in here, so like all this clear backing will be covered with plants. This is also important because it allows the substrate to not get kicked into it as much. With a tiger salamander, you're gonna get substrate in there no matter what. But with a red-eyed crocodile skink, it's not as bad because they're just not as clumsy with their movements. Tiger salamanders just kick stuff in water all the time. Basically, I took styrofoam. You can see the little remnants of purple here. I just took styrofoam and I cut a sliver out so that it would fit right on top of the lip of the Tupperware container, this entire side. And then because I had this here already, I didn't do that. I just put expanding foam. There's no styrofoam here, but expanding foam is styrofoam, so it's fine. But then I also built on top of this styrofoam with expanding foam. The expanding foam was once like up to here and all the way up to here, and then I carved it with that razor blade. Where it at? It's right there. I carved it out with a razor blade. Be careful doing that. You can use a knife, whatever. I prefer a razor blade because I can get in there really close, but you will cut your fingers, so be careful. But I have gotten in close and I just, carved out everything, including this existing purple styrofoam that I put on there, to a shape that I liked. The ridge on this isn't as high as the one on my tiger salamander enclosure because, again, tiger salamanders are just so much clumsier. But my tiger salamander substrate is going to be really loose because they're a burrowing species, whereas my red-eyed crocodile skink substrate might be more compact, so I don't have to worry about it as much in this enclosure. After this is done being carved, then comes the part of making it match the background. Now this one is all done, the silicone is on there, the dirt is on there. As you can see, the entire background is completed. So this is her pond area, Neville's, that's my tiger salamander, and it's the exact same size as the one she has now, and hers is really built up, as you can see. There's a huge mountainous ledge because she's very clumsy with her substrate, like I said. So this will look like her substrate. When she has her substrate, it'll meld right into the edges here, and it will look as if it's just supposed to exist. Like, it will not look like I built this, hopefully. It will look like one cohesive design. Oh, and the reason that it's like so much shallower over here is because the lip. If I had built it up to here, I can't put substrate above this door, so I wanted it to be able to match evenly, but I also wanted to keep out the substrate that's going to be over here, because in the front I always include less substrate just because of the doors, and then I build it up in the back, which is why there's no background for here, because it would have just been a waste. It would have just sat under substrate. So the substrate is probably going to go up to here on the background, and then it will have to just slope down a bit until it reaches this, and it will not, hopefully, be going over here into her water section. Once these water sections are further along, I will continue on with another update, including filling it with rocks, the filter, the plants, the water, etc. And then once the enclosures are done, you'll see what it looks like in total. So here is Neville's completely finished bioactive enclosure, and you can see her stream area in the corner there. She uses it every single day. She loves it. She gets in and out of it easily, which is something I was worried about, but she loves it and she does just fine in it. Now, as you can see, it just looks like it's part of the enclosure with the substrate in it. Like, it literally just looks like a pond. It doesn't just look like a container sitting in the enclosure, which is exactly what I was going for, and I'm super thrilled with it. And here it is up close with the rocks and the filter, and you can see the interior setup. And here it is in its entirety. I couldn't be more thrilled, honestly. And here is how the red-eyed crocodile skink enclosure came out. I absolutely love it. And in the back corner there, you'll see in a second, is the stream area, and you'll be able to see the rocks and the filter and the arm that I had mentioned, that cork arm. Here is a screen grab from the video. I'm just going to talk over so I can explain a little bit why the water looks yellow. That is a completely natural thing. So tannins are released when wood or leaves or dirt or other organic matter
is like exposed to the water, and the tannins are like color that leaches into the water, so it's going to make it brown or tea colored or yellow, and that's just a completely natural thing, and it is not harmful. You'll notice that the color will go away when you replenish the water or like refreshen it, and then eventually it'll become yellow or brown just the same as it was before because it's continually leaching tannins. So her cork arm is what's doing that, and again, it's completely safe, so don't worry. Interestingly enough, one of Fugaku's favorite places to hide, and I didn't see this happening, is inside of that cork arm. It's funny, that tiny little hole right there above that piece of bamboo is like a little window, and I can see through it and I'll be able to see her hiding in there, but she crawls up into it and just secures herself there as a nice moist, dark place to hide. A couple more things I want to address. The bamboo. I had mentioned earlier in the video I was going to line the back with bamboo, and I did, and it looks great. This is bamboo that had been in her previous enclosure, so it's like really tall and really well grown in. And then also there are tiny white specks floating on the surface of the water. Those are actually springtails, which are part of her cleanup crew, and it is totally safe for them to be in the water. They float actually because they're so light. They just walk across the water surface, so they end up getting in there from the substrate and from the enclosure decor. I mean, it's impossible not to have them in there. So if you find springtails in yours, don't worry, it is okay.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I construct my stream areas. I will be posting more construction videos, like how I build my DIY backgrounds, how I build the substrate and like drainage stuff for a bioactive enclosure, so like going through all the steps for that. I'm going to have tons of those videos coming out soon, but the reason I haven't done them, and people have been asking, trust me, I know, the reason I haven't done them is because I want to get as much experience under my belt as I possibly can before I try to tell you how to do things, because then I would just be messing up my words, because then I could run into problems that I didn't talk about in the video. So had I waited, I would have known to address those problems in the video. So this is just more so that I don't have to go back and keep posting a new video every time I learn something new. So I would say within the next couple of months you can expect to see bioactive type videos, DIY background type of videos. And I actually want to do a whole video about backgrounds in general, because you don't have to go the DIY background route if like building it scares you. So I will be making videos like that in the future. But for now, I hope the stream area one suffices in terms of construction videos. If you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!